My thesis was it was a short story collection, and it was about more or less like connected stories about people going through identity problems. So it's kind of funny because it's a lot of the that existentialism sort of passed its way onto the novel that I'm working on now. The short story collection that I wrote for my thesis was called The Dickhead, and part of the reason I called it that is because I wanted them to call that name when they announced it, and they did. But it was really entertaining for me. And then it also connected to some of the titles of the stories as well. The second one that I was working on was a novel. It was very heavy. It had sort of the parallel to The Secret War, which I mentioned in the novel as well. In India, there was this in 1984 there was this mass genocide of Sikhs after the assassination of Indira Gandhi. So it was a really heavy premise, and then I was tying that in with 9/11, which was happening around the time that I was going through the MFA program. And so I was doing a parallel of them, but it just became such a heavy book, and I just don't think I was in that space to write it, because I was just writing it really heavy-handed, and there wasn't really any artistic component to it, and I wasn't enjoying it, so I just sort of put it aside for a while, and I was teaching and doing all sorts of things. But then I started working on this novel. It's been a really interesting trajectory, because when I first started it, I just wanted to write a young adult novel about a brown kid, discovering his identity through high school. And I wanted it to be like a 24-hour story. That was from the get-go. That's something that I really liked, like the immediacy of that. Then the more I started connecting with the character and developing the plot, I wanted to set it in Fresno. That's where I had my formative years. And then I was like, I want this to be a story for like a teen version of me. Initially, it was like I was using a lot of tropes that were used in YA, and then that just wasn't like working. And then I just like the idea of like a notebook that he and then like just being like the whole night is based on like these spontaneous things that he's doing, and he's somebody that just does not do spontaneous things. Like he maps things out, and he writes notes, and he can't even go to like a restaurant unless he pulls up an app and spends like 18 hours sort of figuring things out. So the title just came from that idea. Like I was like, what if there was a notebook, and that sort of cemented the entire story together. And my experiences were there was I grew up with a lot of Hmong friends, and we would always talk about like representation and like the representation in literature and film, and how there's really terrible, either there's really terrible literature representation, or there's no representation at all. So it slowly started developing from that. And then it just got more complex as I layered through it. But I still like the idea of the 24-hour, fun sort of story. But then there are these characters that are dealing with these really heavy issues. Like the main character, Sunny G, is he's dealing with like the death of his brother and alcoholism and all sorts of things. And he's a cosplayer, so he's got sort of all these sort of things happening within his world.